Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Jo and this is Joey Sewy, where I talk about sewing, knitting, creativity and life, and today we have my video about what I have been sewing in July. So thank you very much for being there and thank you for supporting my channel. It means a huge amount to me. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing that I was sewing in July, and I started sewing it in June, and some of you have seen the beginnings of that journey, were my Jenny overalls. And I'm wearing them. So I will step back and let you have a look at what they came out like. After the journey that I went on, I am so pleased with them. I think they're really beautiful. I've worn them out in the real world 4 times now. The first time I was super self-conscious, and the 3 following times I have had strangers stop me and tell me how awesome I look. So I think that is 100% a win. Yeah, I am really pleased with how these turned out. I altered the pattern not at all on the bottom. So on the bottom we've got the side button fastening, we've got the front pockets, I have done the back pockets on the back, and it is quite a high-waisted pattern, and that's what we've got. I completely changed the entire top. I decided one of the things that I was struggling with was how dungareesy they look, which is kind of the point, but personally I was quite uncomfortable with that. It looks great, I've seen it look fantastic on people, but I just put it on and I couldn't feel comfortable, and if you don't feel comfortable then it's not really a goer, is it? So I decided to change the shape of the top to be more of a V-neck and to not have separate straps. I was also trying to be really frugal, so I didn't want to invest in all the hardware and everything. So I extended the straps up. We have buttons at the top here, and then I entirely changed the back as well. So the back, I brought the straps together so that they join and they're at the centre, and then the straps come over here. So because I was making this for myself, I didn't need adjustable straps, and also because I brought the straps together at the back in the centre, I didn't need to adjust them in case they were going to fall off, because bringing them together in the centre like that means that they don't fall off my shoulders, and that was quite important for me because I've got really narrow shoulders and they've got quite a slope on them, so straps like this would fall off a lot unless they were made really well to the right size. I have made a final video about how I drafted this front, because I thought it would be too long to put in here, but basically I used my dress form, her back there, I used my dress form, I put some fabric on it, I cut the basic underneath shape, and then I got the pleats and I've hand pleated a piece of fabric and I've made a sandwich. So we've got an inside, show the camera over here, we've got an inside and we've got an outside layer, so it is fully lined. Rather than on the pattern, there is an option to fully line it, or there is an option to do what I've done. So I changed it up a lot, but I absolutely love the results. The last thing I guess to say is I used the selvage edge on the back pockets as a detail, and on the middle of the centre back as a detail, because this fabric had a really fantastic selvage edge. It was grey and I loved that detail. So I just wanted to use it somewhere, and again I've had specific compliments about that. So the journey that I went on to get to these overalls is 100% worth it, because I just love it. I just love them. I feel good when I wear them, and I've had compliments, so yeah, 100% winner with this one. And it just goes to show, if you stick with it and you put the work in, it can go well. Not always, but it can. The second thing that I can show you is the t-shirt that I'm wearing the t-shirt that I'm wearing underneath it. So I partly made this because I did think it would look good underneath these overalls, and it's the thing it's not the only thing I've worn underneath, but it is the thing I've worn most often. And I'll take the overall front down so you can see it. So it's a Schnitzen pattern, which I believe is German for cut. So they're a German pattern company, but they do instructions in English. They're quite sparse instructions, but it's a pattern I've made multiple times, most often to make a nightshirt. I didn't buy it to do that, but it turns out because it's got really loose armholes, it's just really comfortable. It has raglan sleeves here, don't know if you can see that, and this time I've given it a high-low hem. So the gather, it kind of has flutter sleeves. I made them, on this version, I made them less fluttery than the pattern. So I took probably 2 inches, maybe slightly more, of fullness out of the arm, literally by just folding it over. So not changing this seam, not changing the neck seam, but there's a big long curve at the arm hem, and I just folded some of that in to take some out, because I knew from experience that they were a little bit too fluttery for me. And I think unless you use a super drapey fabric, you end up with triangle arms, which is not a great look. So yeah, it's a super simple make, especially because I know that it fits me now, so I've got no fitting to do. I can just put the fabric out, put the pattern out, cut, 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 sew, and I made this in an evening, so it's really nice to do that with patterns that you know. So moving on, I made another t-shirt. It is basically the holy grail of a plain white t-shirt. Now I know making t-shirts is a bit Marmite. Some people love doing it, some people hate doing it. I have been wanting to make a good fitting t-shirt for a while. Again, this is one I've been on a journey with. So this is the Jane pattern from Seamwork, and when I first made it, it was way too big and a bit weird. And what I actually, the first 2 times I made it, it turned out like that. What I did with this version was I basically cut the smallest size. Now that shouldn't fit my body according to body measurements, but it does, and it's still not crazy fitted, but it fits me really nicely. This fabric has a reasonable amount of stretch, so it is a pretty stretchy fabric, and it's got pretty good recovery, but it's not crazy stretch. It's from the Shuttle Shipley, and the blue fabric before was from the Shuttle Shipley, and the fabric that I made my overalls in is from the Shuttle Shipley. Now the 2 jerseys are probably still available because I bought this fabric maybe 4 weeks ago. The overall pattern, I bought the fabric, I don't know how long ago, more than 2 years, basically a long time ago, so it's not available. And I should probably say the overall fabric, I think the composition, still there you see, is probably linen polyester at a guess. It wasn't marked. It does crease a bit like linen, but definitely not as much as pure linen would, so I'm guessing linen polyester. Quite nice and fluid and drapey. It does pull a little bit at the seams, and to go back to the overall pattern, that is worrying me slightly around the bottom and the hips, so I may have to reinforce it, or I may just have to deal with the fact that this might be a short-term make, which would break my heart. But so yeah, I made a plain white t-shirt. Again, I quite like it underneath the overalls, so yeah, I like how that looks. White t-shirt, basic. I wanted to get this t-shirt pattern to fit, and so I had another go, and it worked. I used my overlocker for all the seams, and I used my cover stitch for the hem at the top and the hem at the bottom, and I'm really pleased with it. So I have finally sorted that out. It's a little bit of a month of finally getting things right, mostly. Next up, we have a navy Granville shirt. The Granville is a Sewaholic shirt design. It's one I've made before, so again I was able to make it relatively fast without too much fitting, because I've done that in the past, I've got it in the bank. It is a fitted shirt pattern. It has darts in the front, it has 3 seams down the back, so it has a centre panel, and then it has 2 side panels, and that means Sewaholic patterns in general are drafted for a pear shape, so for me they were a gift. I still have to alter them a little bit because I still have to take the hips out a touch. They're kind of, at a guess, I don't know this for sure, but I think proportionally they define pear shape in their drafting as one size different between waist and hips, so their 10 will be actually like a 10-12 waist hip, whereas I'm 2 sizes different between waist and hip, generally speaking. But that's the only adjustment I've had to make in these patterns. So, you know, so when you find a pattern company that fits you well, and you either have to make no adjustments, which is brilliant, you've won the lottery, well done, or you only have to make a few, then you tend to go back there, don't you? So that's why I've made quite a few Sewaholic patterns, and I've made quite a few closet case patterns, because they've fitted me so easily, and the pain of getting to know a new pattern has been less. So if you ever find that with a pattern company, I recommend going down that route for an easy life. Yeah, so that was the fitting issues on it. I got this fabric from the Shuttle Shipley again. It was in my Summer Basics fabric haul, as were the 2 jerseys. It's a polyester cotton shirting, so it's probably approximately poplin weight, which is perfect for a shirt, because it's made for a shirt, that's why it's called shirting. The buttons, a close-up of the buttons. These are the buttons, there you go, from Textile Garden, and I got these at Woolfest. And in all honesty, when I started to make the shirt, I didn't know what buttons I was going to put on there. And I got all my buttons out when I got to the stage of choosing them, and I went through every single button that I own. I went through all my buttons, which is a joyful experience, I'm not complaining, but I found nothing. I had 2 navy blue buttons, which is what went here and here, and then the rest of them were crazy colours, pink, green, yellow, anything you like, but no navy blue. And then I thought, hang on a minute, and I thought I'd only bought 4 of these swallow buttons, but it turns out I had bought 6, which was just enough to go on here. So I love how this looks. I'm not actually sure it's finished, because I had a plan. It's finished in that I can wear it, it's got buttons, it's hemmed. I did the hem by hand, so I did a hand rolled hem, because I like doing a bit of hand sewing. You can do it by machine if you prefer, but that's what I did. I top stitched all around the collar. There is top stitching here, there is top stitching across the yoke. This is a dark colour, you probably can't see it, but it's there. Yeah, I had a plan that I would do some fancy pockets. So the pattern itself, you can have 1 pocket, you can have 2 pockets, you can have no pockets. And I'm doing a little bit of research about the pleating that I did on my overalls. I've done that, and I'm into it now. And I'm wondering about putting 1 or 2 pockets, breast pockets, with a little bit of fabric manipulation in there. So I don't know, you might see this pop up again in what I've been sewing in August, and I'm not trying to pull a fast one. If I do it, it'll be because I've done something special with the pockets. I've been heavily browsing Pinterest looking for stuff, so if you know any good pocket manipulation things, then let me know. So that is make number 4, isn't it? I've made a shirt. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the trousers that I'm wearing. The trousers that I'm wearing are ready to wear, but one of the sewing things that I did this month was I got my mending box out. So I tidied up this room. I always have a deceptively tidy background, but sometimes it can be a tip. So I did a proper tidy, cleared quite a few things out, emptied my scrap bin, took it to recycling, all that jazz. And I found a mending box that I'd forgotten I had, and in it were mostly actually children's clothes that have now been in that box so long that they've been grown out of, but also there were some two ready to wear things of mine that I decided to keep and not recycle. So again, there were a few ready to wear things in there of mine that I was going to mend, but actually I don't like enough, and the fact that I'd forgotten they existed tells me something. But one of them was these trousers. Now these trousers are the trousers that I have copied somewhat in my furlough trouser video. So the grey linen trousers that I made a couple of months ago, I think they were in, well, they might have been in my last video, my last what I've been sewing video. And also some purple linen trousers that I showed you ages ago in my furlough trouser vlog. I'll try and remember to put a little link up here. Anyway, those ones, the top of them are furlough trousers, except I made the waistband a lot deeper, and I was copying the proportions of that from these trousers. And the reason why they were in the mending pile is because the ends were all frayed. Now I thought they were too frayed for me to save enough length, but it turns out that with a little bit of nifty hand sewing I was able to save them. So I magically made myself a pair of trousers without sewing a pair of trousers, because I basically rescued them from the mending pile. They are one of the few pairs of ready-to-wear trousers I've ever bought that fit well, and now they are back in circulation. So that was a big win without too much effort. So I haven't made this dress, but it is from H&M. It's 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't know, old. Oh well, that's not that old, is it? Depends on your expectations, but it's not new. I wore it for ages. When it started at the beginning, when I bought it, it had a big flounce here. Didn't like that. I was going to unpick it. I looked at unpicking it. It was going to be a huge job. Couldn't be bothered. I cut it off with scissors. Then I must have worn it every time from then. You're going to get a good insight into my domestic life here. I never ever washed it. We took it on holiday last year. More insight into my domestic life. To America. I wore this in the Grand Canyon. Very hot, very sweaty. Definitely couldn't get away with not washing it after that. So it had its very first wash, and when it had its very first wash, the band that I'd left here turned into this. Yeah, not a good look. It was like a bird's nest of horrors. So my hand was forced and I had to unpick it. So it was in my mending pile, and it had been in there for probably a year, because this time last year is when we were in America, and just after we got back is when it will have been washed, maybe even when we were at America. So it had sat in that pile for about a year. So I took it out and I painstakingly unpicked all of this area and then hand sewed it to release this and to release the dress to wear again. Now in my What Have I Been Sewing This Year video, I was reflecting on the fact that I'd only made one dress and I'd hated it. And it's partly because I'm not sure about wearing dresses that don't always feel comfortable. And I got this one out and I thought, you know what? This is a really good shape and I really like it. So one of my plans, even though I don't make plans, I said that as well in that video. I don't really make plans, but I kind of, ruminate on ideas. I think I might try and copy this. So the shape of this dress is one-shouldered. I don't think I'd copy that because it's not very wearable the rest of the time. So probably make it two-shouldered. Toying with the idea of making it cowl neck. But the first thing I'm going to do, it's got this elasticated waist, which I quite like. I might make that slightly less tight because possibly I'm slightly larger than when I first bought it. But other than that, I'm going to trace it off. It's made of viscose, this one. And from what I can tell, it's a pretty rectangular shape until you pop that elastic in there. So it's going to be simple to fit. In fact, if I just made a copy of this, it would fit. I think it's fairly frugal on fabric because there's a seam at the waist. So you would get a small piece. There is a centre seam in the back here and in the skirt, which is probably what the ready-to-wear manufacturer did to be cheap on fabric, but also means that I could do that if I wanted to make it out of less fabric too. So yeah, I'm going to think about copying this or having a go at copying this, so it may pop up in my August makes video, but it's in my July makes because I did that hand sewing to rescue it from up here. And then my final one. As I go through these videos, my hair gets more bonkers as I take clothes on and off. I'm sure that happens to everybody. So this is my final make. And weirdly enough, I think I'm most proud of this one, even though it's probably the simplest. It is a blouse. The fabric was from Birmingham, either a year or 2 years ago. Yeah, maybe a year and a half at least. And it was something that was left over from a Cali shirt dress that I made, so I have this in a shirt dress as well. Why am I proud of it? Because I drafted the pattern. That's why I'm proud of it. So I went ready to wear browsing earlier last month, thinking about dresses again, thinking about shapes, but got completely distracted by blouses. And in River Island, every blouse was this shape. It was like they just decided they were going to do one shape in 15 different fabrics, and that's pretty much what there was in the shop. So if you didn't like the shape, you were stuffed in that shop. But if you did, it was fine. I never would have picked a shape like this if you'd shown me a line drawing, because it's a rectangle. It's a big rectangle, okay? That's all it is. It's shapeless. But if you make it in the right fabric, it drapes, and I love the way that it fits. So I've got it tucked into my jeans there. And I do like that. I like it much better than out, but you can wear it out. I just like the slight shaping that it gives you to half tuck it. So that's how I've been wearing it. I've been half tucking it in the front. The hem, the bottom is slightly longer. I might have made it a touch longer, but I was using a scrap of fabric. I was on a use the selvage edge thing this month, so that is what you've got here. Let's see if I can get it to not overexpose. Yeah, there you go. So that's the selvage edge, and it's gathered. So you could, in the shop there were some that had gathered cuffs, I suppose it is, some that had flat folded cuffs, and some that just had bound edges. So you could very easily make it an even simpler shape by losing that cuff, and I do like that as well. So there's masses of ease. So in warm weather, this is your friend. The armhole is pretty massive, and I keep wondering how much I'm flashing. I'll just flash it at you. I do keep wondering how much I'm flashing there, but actually I think because it's quite low, I think I have it manages to get air in without showing too much off, I think. The neckline, I just hand sewed it, maybe just a little bit. I suppose the point is that it's just a pick stitch, so it's folded over double and then a tiny little stitch. I wasn't worried that it did show a little bit through, because I kind of feel like if I'm going to the effort of hand stitching, then good, you can, I don't mind if you can see it. Yeah, I don't mind if you can see it. So that is my final make. Yes, that is my final make. Quite a lot actually, especially because I snuck in there with those two that were actually kind of mending projects, not making projects. A very positive month, which after the stressful week I've had, I'm very pleased to have some positive things to say to you. So I'm gonna say thank you again to those of you who support my channel. I think some of you will know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, it's fine. I'm fine. All is fine. Sewing continues, and let's just focus on that. I will be back very soon with another video. We will meet again. Maybe not the same time, maybe not the same place. I don't know where you are, but I will be here and I'll be showing you my sewing. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see anything else on my channel, something will pop up here, and then when my face disappears, you'll be able to subscribe as well if you haven't already. Thanks a lot. Bye.